He was as comfortable talking to the guys in Pitchin Park as he was interviewing Pierre Trudeau.
His Scottish brogue was the oatmeal savage, I used to call him. It was worse, you know, 20, 30 years after than when he arrived here. And I used to say the more money he makes, the thicker his brogue gets.
He never forgot his roots. He was a working man.
Jack had a compassion for people. I think it's one reason why prisoners wanted him to negotiate for them. Union people felt that he would come and understand their issues. Drunks would come and they'd get some money. Drug addicts would get a hearing because he cared about them as people. And he really did. That was Webster.
Brash, bold, bigger than life, Jack Webster became one of Canada's most famous broadcasters, but never forgot where he came from.
You must identify with the ordinary people. They're the people that matter. What are they going to be talking about tonight? That's what should be on the air. It shouldn't be necessarily esoteric nonsense.
There was no nonsense where Webster grew up, in the tenements of Glasgow. He learned the meaning of hard work firsthand. As a boy, he could identify with the struggles of the working man, holding down 2 jobs by the age of 14.
And this is where we played as kids. The place was seething with kids. Football with rolled up newspapers. Hunch carry hunch. Unless you're from Glasgow, you wouldn't know what that means. Delivering milk in the mornings, paper in the afternoon. Vibrant, aggressive, tough upbringing.
A tough life his mother was determined her sons would escape.
Our boys were not going to go work in the shipyards or the engineering shops on the Clyde in the Depression. And my elder brother got a job in the newspaper, and in no time at all he was making more money than my father was. So when I came out of school at 14, I did the same thing, straight into a newspaper office.
While his classmates went to work in the shipyards, Webster built his career with words. First at Scottish papers, then beginning a new life with his family in Canada and a job at the Vancouver Sun. Soon he made the transition from papers to breathe life into a so-called dying medium, radio.
I want to see the Beatles. Are you ready to run? No, I think everything's under control.
He covered some of the biggest stories of the 60s and was equally at ease with scandals, politics, or the Beatles.
Anyway, the crowd have been told if they don't behave themselves, the concert will be cancelled. And that's where it stands at this very moment.
From midnight Friday until dawn Saturday, I had a terrible fear that I was going to be an eyewitness to a murder. The murder of a prison guard in the BC penitentiary.
He became part of the news at the troubled BC penitentiary when prisoners relied on him and his tough yet fair reputation to act as a go-between in a hostage-taking. Good training for some of the sparring he'd do as the king of talk radio and eventually TV.
In the Esso All-Out Quality Celebration. Well, let's get back.
Yeah, well, here we are. We'll take a call and see what comes up. Webster? You never know how a day is going to go, but you must have an answer. On politics, civic affairs, the law, religion, and problems from welfare cases to compensation to delinquent children. No exaggeration that none of the telephones ever stops ringing. And for the last time on radio, 16 years, 3.5 hours a day, 44 weeks a year, and 9 years before that, for the last time, next, the news. Your questions and calls to Canada's top author at the moment. You're the top author, are you not?
Yeah.
4 printings?
Yeah.
$17.95?
$19.95.
Any discount for liberals?
You're prepared to wipe out the body house section of the criminal code and legalize brothels.
Jack, what I'm saying is...
You haven't answered one question this morning, yes or no?
Are you going to give me an opportunity to answer the question?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What I'm suggesting is that the body house laws so far have been wide open to abuse.
I'm not a deep political thinker. I've always been a kind of straightforward, hopefully straightforward reporter who's against the government on basic principle, even when the government's right.
One of his toughest combatants was Pierre Trudeau, who was in hot water for snubbing the West, even giving the finger to people from BC's interior. But Webster never took offense.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Well, there was just a really lavish studio. Good form this morning, sir?
Yeah, no.
No, not good form.
No. Every time I see you.
Pierre Trudeau was Dad's favorite interview, and a guy he really liked because he was so savagely intelligent and difficult to deal with. But I think he really respected Pierre, especially after the Fuddle episode. So Dad bought this tie, which he wore constantly, which we call the Trudeau tie. Has a rather rude hand on it, but he just loved this tie and wore it constantly, absolutely constantly.
That probably says something about his personality, too, doesn't it?
It does, and I think he respected Pierre for responding in the way he did as a human being.
Jack, I'll make a deal.
Okay.
You and I retire together, okay? When you get out of this game, I'll get out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Tomorrow?
When things go bad, they say it's Mulrooney's fault. When things go right and there are good things happen, they say it was just luck. I think that's sort of unfair, and I think you'd agree with me.
Well, like you said, I shall avoid answering the question. I did 26 and a half years of telephone talk on radio and television. But I got to tell you, the television was the best fun of all.
Really?
90 minutes live in the morning at 9 a.m. precisely.
Jack,
That was one of the real stupid things the Bennett government did and still plan to do. Real stupid. Stupid.
It is, Jack, and I'm...
All they had to do was increase the rate. Stupid. I've got a good question for you, because I suspect that you color commentators and play-by-play people are really venal.
Venal? What's that, a disease?
It's not far away. It's a mental disease. Stupid.
I am the Australian heavyweight Australian rules football champion, and if you have a mix-up with a fella during the year and you don't get time to finish it, well, you finish it after the season and you go in and you clip his ears, if you know what I mean. I fought a bloke named Rotten Ronnie Andrews. Sorry, it's your show, Jack. But I fought a bloke named Ronnie Andrews, and I really did give him a hide, and he was Scottish like yourself. Now, if you don't behave yourself, I'll come in over there and bite your head off.
You bring out the most extraordinarily maternal instincts in me. I really could just come right over there on your lap and tell you all the things there are to make you happy.
That's enough.
Enjoying it?
There was an old man and he had a wooden leg. Had no tobacco could he beg. Another old man was as sly as a fox. He had tobacco in his old tobacco box.
I guess I was about 23 or something, and I was headed out to BC at the very beginning of my career to do some television, and everyone was like, "Oh, Webster, oh, he's a tough guy. Webster's he's gonna be tough on you." So I had this almost ominous preconception of what he was like, and then I got on his show and he was so supportive and so energetic and so much fun to play with and play off of that he was really an early supporter of mine. And when Webster kind of stamped you with his approval, you know, I think his viewers were very, very, very loyal and really accepted me just because of Jack's acceptance of me.
Money, keep off the rocks and you'll always have tobacco in your old tobacco box.
Oh, Jack! That was too good.
We got it made.
He was the combination, which is very rare, of being a superb journalist, a terrific reporter, coming out of the gritty Glasgow and Fleet Street days and everything. But he also was a ham. He was a showbiz personality.
He was an interesting combination of a great journalist and a terrific entertainer.
I'm at the city dump. You can throw anything any way you like.
In the spotlight of television, Webster shone. He was comfortable in his element. But off camera, there were more shadows in his life. One that would chase him back to his boyhood home of Glasgow and change his life forever.
Would you have done things differently?
Yes.
Yes? What would you have changed?
I'd have backed off and given more time to my family. Not worried so much about material success. want to say to those millions of people that watched me over the years, the loyalty, whether they were for me or against me, will never be forgotten by the old fella on BCTV, Jack Webster. Thank you, and for the moment, goodbye.
He said goodbye to the spotlight of full-time television in 1987, but Webster wasn't ready to settle into a quiet retirement.
Well, I've had this place for 26 years. It's not quite as trim as it used to be.
Was this your escape?
Yeah, it has been a great escape.
He found solitude at his Salt Spring farm, but not quite peace. He accepted an offer to write a book and decided for the first time to make his most private life public.
Well, it's honest. You can't write a phony book. And he couldn't have written one side of the book without the other side of the book.
The other side was part love story, part tragedy. 1936, Webster was courting Margaret MacDonald. She was 16, he was 17, working 3 jobs and just beginning a career in news. She got pregnant. Their families, particularly Jack's mother, insisted they give the baby up for adoption.
I'm just amazed that I didn't have guts enough to be grown up enough even then at 18 to marry the girl, which we should have done.
Your mother didn't want you to marry her, though, right?
Oh, no. My mother was quite a dominant personality. But we didn't. I don't know. One feels guilty about it.
They did get married 3 years later and went on to have 3 more children and career success in Canada. But at home, Margaret battled depression and never forgot the loss of her firstborn, even decades later.
And we found the baby. My wife found the baby. When she was 36 years of age, the baby. She'd only seen the baby for a moment or two when it was born in Glasgow. We were kids before the war. And then in 1972, I came home one night, and she'd been going to Scotland despite her illnesses. And I didn't know she was searching for the baby. She found the baby, who was then 36. His first name is Joan, and who has 3 children, Angus, Duncan, and Fiona. And it was the most incredible reunion you could ever think of.
Grab it by the tail. See? And shout, fish!
Webster had gained a daughter and 3 new grandchildren to share in his passion for fishing and hamming it up, along with the 3 children he and Margaret had raised. Although, he admitted, Margaret was the one who was there for them most.
A very good woman, and I was not the best husband in the world. Because like so many of us in this business or any other business, your job seemed to come first.
In 1985, 2 years before he retired, Margaret died, leaving a huge hole in his life that family helped to fill.
Very proud of my kids. I've got 3 daughters and 1 son. And my son's a lawyer, beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. My daughter Linda works in Victoria, she's terrific. And then I've got Jenny with 4 kids in North Vancouver, and Joan with 3 kids. Joan's the one we discovered in 1972.
His son Jack, the lawyer, says family time grew with his father's career and more time off. So did the public's view of the sentimental Webster that television finally revealed.
Early on, he was always portrayed as very gruff, aggressive, sometimes nasty, difficult with people. I think on the BCTV show, people got to know what he was really like, which was he could be tough on the outside, but he was a marshmallow on the inside, a bit like myself, actually. So I think people would just like to remember him as being an honest reporter who did his best at the time.
Jack Webster not only reported the news, he made it, as one of BC's most prominent personalities, even hobnobbing with royalty.
The evening was absolutely delightful. The Britannia is beyond description. The fittings are glorious. The meal was beautiful. The Prince...
What did she say?
She was terribly nice and terribly courteous, and everything was just delightful. And for the first time in my long and miserable life as a snoop and a keyhole peeper, my lips are sealed.
Mr. Jack Webster, British Columbia's best-known journalist, radio and television personality. He has been involved as a reporter and commentator in every major event in the province in the past 35 years. Mr. Webster.
His accomplishments were recognized when he received the country's highest honor, the Order of Canada. Even then, Webster never forgot his roots.
Naturally enough, to become a member of the Order of Canada, it's quite a thing for a poor wee immigrant boy that came here 40-odd years ago.
Does this make you part of the establishment?
If I thought so, I'd give it back.
He did give back to his profession with the Jack Webster Foundation and the annual Awards for Excellence in Journalism, recognizing reporters and photographers for the standard of work he had established.
Because I'm from the west coast of Scotland originally, if you didn't know, I've lost most of my accent, where I was brought up with a well-developed sense of injustice. And anybody who was brought up in the UK during the 30s either had to have a well-developed sense of injustice or he was a stupid fool. So unbalanced was the society. And I've always tried to avoid that couplet, celebrated couplet involving UK journalists. You cannot hope to bribe or twist, thank God, the British journalist. But seeing what he will do unbribed, there is no reason to.
The showman in him couldn't resist a laugh, but he was serious about reporting. And for young journalists in training, Webster is now held up as an example of how to do it right.
I think Jack Webster is a really good model of integrity, the shining example of what a journalist should be. And Webster, I think, was that.
But I think his legacy is definitely going to be his interview style. I think that's something that we can all live up to and trying to aspire to.
They teach us here the great art of storytelling, and I think that was his forte. He just had a passion for storytelling, and you could tell when he's on camera that he loved to tell his story, he loved to hear other people's stories.
Like his life, Webster's death brought together an interesting assortment of characters. Rich and famous, unknown, or down and out, he knew them all. One of his best friends, Jack Monroe, started out as an adversary on the air.
Because of Mr. Monroe's volatile temperament, I ask you please, no niceties, have something in your mind, say it or ask it. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Mr. Webster. No niceties. I'd just like to say we enjoy your program, but we resent the profanity. Don't you have a beeper?
But I have not sworn a single word myself for years and years, on or off the air. Listen, it's you, Suzanne. And I thought you...
Well, I'm sorry. If I offended anybody, I apologize, but you upset me.
He gave the eulogy for his longtime friend.
Webster is a legend. His passion for social justice, his proudness as a loving father, husband, and grandfather, his sense of humor, his ability to keep both feet firmly planted on the ground. He also set a high standard for all journalists, which they should strive to achieve. Jack didn't ask for much. He just wanted to be known as a good reporter. But he was so much more than that.
A farewell to Webster would, of course, include a wake and tributes from people who were friends, foes, and unabashed admirers.
I used to watch him on radio and on television, and I thought there are so few people in this world, let alone this country, that can do what he does. That is to speak for every person that watches or listens, that asks all the questions that all the jokers out there, us, want him to ask. You could see his mind working. He wasn't rehearsed. He was spontaneous. He was delightful, often brutal. That was the best part.
Hasn't this not been an appallingly low-level campaign, Mr. Trudeau, as we have seen it? Shall I give you a couple of points?
Yes, please give me a couple of points.
It seems to be entirely on image and style.
His most famous foe no longer does television interviews. But in a letter about Jack Webster, the former Prime Minister said, "He was a man of unambiguous opinion. You always knew where you stood with Jack Webster. It was an honest approach I came to admire. He was the last of a rare breed, and I don't suppose we'll see his like again." Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
He was a person who lived for the common man, tried to eliminate hypocrisy, lies, spin, you might put it that way. He told it like it was and tried to get other people to tell it like it was, to live a sort of an honorable, honest life. And if anything, he would be an example for people. And that's the way I'd like to remember him. And I think that's probably what he would want, too.
Working with Jack for those 10 years was one of the most important times in my life. I learned more than I could have possibly learned anywhere else, from anyone else. The people I met, how they felt about him, how he treated them. How he treated me made me feel as important as any of the stars, guests, politicians, whatever, that came on the show every day.
Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. precisely.
He was as comfortable talking to the guys in Pigeon Park as he was interviewing Pierre Trudeau. See, he was interested in people, no matter what they were, what their station was. He was interested in talking to them and hearing about them and what they had to say.
Keep it up, Mr. Webster.
Thank you very much. You hear that brogue, eh? Paddy's big accent. Webster.
Oh, Jack.
How lucky can you be? You come out here as a reporter of the Vancouver Sun. You go into radio when it's dying. You go into talk radio to television. I mix with the high and the mighty and the low and the ordinary. And I always tried all my life as a reporter, and still would, to identify with the ordinary chap.
I'm lucky the Newsmen's Club is in the same building as my studio in the Georgia Hotel. Meet friends, argue the news of the day. And you know, we're pretty parochial out here in B.C.
Scotch and soda and an old Vienna. Like a commercial. No ice in the Scotch and soda. Let it go. Oh, I think it's gone. No, it's still there. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Hey.
That's you.
Yeah, I hope all this praise doesn't go to your head, because you're just fresh air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What about me? I'm kind of old stale smoke.
This is my office. Do I come walking in your office? Do they come walking in your office nude? I got to work around here, and I got a women hanging around.
I'm never nude in the office.
What did she say?
She was terribly nice and terribly courteous, and everything was just delightful. And for the first time in my long and miserable life as a snoop and a keyhole peeper, my lips are sealed.